Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to talk about how to effectively use PR for your business. Today we have Miss Deirdre. She is a communications strategist that has been in PR and marketing for 25 plus years, helping senior executives in mid-sized to large corporations communicate to their shareholders. She's also an author, and she has a recent book entitled Answer to Modern Communicators, a guide to effective business communication. Let's welcome Miss Deirdre to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am great. I am great. You have been in the game for such a long time. Uh, and there has been such a transformation of PR from just literally from crisis and just being able to go out and communicate. But back then it was mainly in front of the cameras, which is still now, but now social media.
Oh,
So
yes.
how did PR change for you? How did you see that change over the time?
Well, I would like to say that it's gradual, but it wasn't. Social media was just such a huge change for PR and for companies. But I think one thing that we realized was that we couldn't control communication. When you're in public relations, it's all about using communication to build bridges with different groups. And why do you want to do this? Because you want to have really strong relationships. And we used to just take messages that were handed down from, let's say, the C suite and send that out on behalf of a company and see where it stuck. And you really can't do that with social media. Social media is a whole different animal. It's about listening, it's human connections. There are ways to really build relationships through social media that were just so different than what we did traditionally. But the whole goal was always to be able to communicate on behalf of a brand, no matter where it was, including social media, and then gauge the perception, the reaction, translate that back so that you could build that bridge and make things better and stronger and help people and do all the things that brands want to do and keep a good reputation at the same time.
That is so true. I know a lot of my friends that graduated from marketing, public relations, that went right into social media. Like they didn't even go into like a PR firm. They didn't right into social media, helping people like really just build out their social media and show them how to effectively communicate. Is that something that you also do as well?
Yeah, so it always depends on who you're working with. And let's face it, it's a lot easier today to get out there on social media because of the tools, the resources that we have. But it's more so about where the people you want to reach are. So let's face it, if you're reaching younger audiences, are you going to be sending a newsletter like you would have in the past? No, you might be communicating on TikTok or Snapchat. It's always where the people you want to reach, where they hang out and where they expect you to be, where they have questions, where they want to talk to you, where you can add to their lives, help them with their decisions. So that's where I think we all need to step back and say, let's listen a little bit and figure out where our people are, and then we can get there and build those relationships.
That's really so true. So, what is the importance of PR in anyone's business, regardless of what industry that you're in?
It's relationships. I mean, it's relationships, it's connecting the right way, and it's also reputation. So, as a public relations professional, I'm known as a reputation manager. You don't want to be that crisis person. You don't want to get there. And one of the beautiful things about social media is that you can tune in so closely, use tools to monitor conversations. You can see where conversations are going. And this helps your brand to maintain your reputation, but you can also head off the things that don't go so well, the negatives, so you don't get a full blown crisis, because that can happen in minutes.
So you think that particular method has helped businesses effectively communicate with their customers and also even their employees?
Yes, so social media absolutely helps with all of the above. When you are on your game, when you're communicating in a way that is effective for those groups and in a way that those groups appreciate. However, that's not to say that we all use social media the right way. And it's like being in a fishbowl. You can say things, something can be taken out of context, it can then be shared, and you get a firestorm as a result. So that's why wherever you're communicating, you always have to be monitoring and listening. And that's really important to protect your brand. It takes years to build up a brand, a good reputation, and to get that public confidence. It can take minutes to knock it down.
That is really true. That is so true. You talk a lot about being a great communicator, talking about communication, how meaningful it is to actually build up that communication with the clientele.
It is extremely meaningful when you work on your communication and when you get a deeper understanding of who they are and what they're about, and when you are emotionally intelligent, so you're present, you're aware, you're mindful, you can manage their emotions. Because remember, as we're out there on social media especially, there's a lot of passion, and passion can be super positive or it can go in another direction. And one of the things you don't want to do is spark that communication to go in the wrong direction. And you can't control communication. You can't control
Yeah,
it. You can guide it. You can be there. But the days of control or thinking we control are completely over.
it's over. You can't control the narrative anymore.
No,
The audience control that for us
that's
at this
right.
point.
And the audience, your whatever group it is, they help to build your
Yeah.
brand. They can build it up or they can knock it down. So I'd rather have a lot of co-creation, a lot of great co-creation on social media with groups, learning and growing together through communication rather than the knockdown, the tear down, the drag out, and the ugly.
So, what are the challenges of actually building these connections? What are the challenges that one would face actually to build connections in PR?
I think it's just the speed, the nature of the beast, the channels, always feeling like you need to be somewhere. And if you do that too quickly or without meaning, it's for naught. Basically, it's that we've got to roll out first with this news. We want to be first. And with speed, sometimes you lose accuracy. With speed, you say things that maybe don't come out the right way, which could be offensive, which could be taken, I mentioned, out of context, which don't highlight your brand in the best possible way. They don't pass the mother or the grandmother test, whatever the case may be. There's issues there. And I think that definitely has to do with our rush. There's FOMO, that fear of missing out, sometimes feeling like you need to be speaking in certain places when you don't even belong there. So I just caution brands to step back and to take the time to learn and to know why. What's your purpose? Why do you need to be speaking to a certain group through a certain channel?
Okay, that's interesting. So in your last book, you did write a book, and it was really trying. It's really about the effective way to for a business to communicate. Um, what are the top three things you think that businesses lack when it comes to communication? We set up these nice brands and we get on social media. Now we have like this presence, if you will. What do you think that are some of the things that these businesses always seem to kind of slip through? And then in that, all of a sudden they hire a PR person to kind of help them kind of put the pieces together, if you will.
So, okay, if I were to name three things, one would be the fact that they're not aligned internally, that there's still silos or competitive groups within. And when they roll out, if they're not on the same page or they're not sharing and being collaborative and being champions of one another, it shows on the outside. And you get a lot of fragmented communication that is not aligned, and that's confusing. I would also say that it's not being consistent in your communication, not looking the same way or sounding the same way across your channels. That is also a mistake. And another mistake is setting yourself up in places and just being a megaphone, not really interacting and engaging and understanding that when you're in a community, people expect you to act a certain way, to respond, to be a part of a conversation. And you miss a tremendous opportunity if you were just using social media as a one-way street. And after all the years and all of the experiences that we've had, there's really no excuse for that. If you're going to be present, it also means that you're there to make authentic connections and to be transparent and to bring your human, because that's what people want.
So true. So why do companies need to control or manage information disseminations? How do companies need to control their information when they're trying to, I guess, speak to the general public? Do you think that companies need to have an internal process for like public speaking or PR, or is it always good to hire outside, or even both?
So I think it's a shared
Yeah.
responsibility. I owned an agency for years, for about, I always worked for agencies, and then I owned my own for about 14 years. And even as an agency owner, we always wanted a shared responsibility to be the extension of the marketing department or the PR department. You don't ever want to give away your social media and have somebody else be the minute you have a community manager, that's a spokesperson for your brand. So whether it's through process or your own people, PR is there to guide and to help. I also think that I caution the control. You can control your process. You always will be sending out information, your owned media through your channels, because I subscribe to the peso model. It's paid media, it's earned media, it's shared media, and it's owned media. Owned media is all the things that we want to say and share, and we can time that. And in public relations, it's great when you have a story that's timed with something really important to your customers in the market. However, you have to realize that once you let it out there, there is no control. It becomes shared media. People take it, all these citizen journalists, all these influencers, even traditional media, and your customers, they'll take it and they'll run with it. So the notion of control, you want to control or manage the process to the best that you can on the inside, and then just be there. If you're in PR, you have to be listening, using monitoring tools to be able to react to how people, what they feel about the information, what they do with it, where they take it. And that really helps, that sentiment around what you're sharing.
So I did notice when I went to your website, you have like this training, I guess, program, if you will. Can you tell us a
Yeah.
little about that?
Yeah. So I just launched the Feel Academy. Yes. So, long story short, FEEL is an acronym for face your fears, engage with empathy, use ethics and good judgment, live with that, and unleash the love. And that was a passion project, year plus long study. After we lost my stepdaughter, I wanted to understand what millennials, she was a millennial at the time, I wanted to know what they were thinking and feeling. And I went out there and I asked them questions. I recorded qualitative data. They basically told me what they were feeling. That was the acronym, what they wanted around them. And I thought to myself, with all these stories, with all this data, if millennials want people to face their fears, engage with empathy, use ethics, and unleash the love, that is something that can go across all generations. So, my training program, in a nutshell, is to use strategic communication to get to a point of an interaction. But rather than it just being a one off, rather than it just being some simple transaction, to use feel, that lens, as a way to deepen the relationship. Because when you use all the parts of feel, that acronym, you have a much better chance of really having a true relationship. And my training is really adding feel to media training, feel with the media and to their audiences. I'll do another course on feel through social media. I'll do it on feel through your presentations or maybe your one on one group meetings, because that is the lens that we should really use added to our strategic comms to get to this place of I want a genuine relationship, loyalty, advocacy, and that impact that we always talk about. That's the difference. Feel.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
So, is there any other way that we can communicate with you? I know that you have written a lot of books. Is there any new projects that you're working on currently?
Well, I do have a book coming out. It's called Answers for Ethical Marketers. And it's no surprise the second E in feel is ethics. And I also, I would love it if your audience is interested. I put up a test online. It's feelfirsttest.com. And basically, it assesses if you feel first in your communication in order to better connect with others. 32 questions, so it's pretty in depth, but the test evaluates and scores you on how much you face your fears, or you're open, you step out of your comfort zone, if you are empathetic, if you're ethical, if you unleash your love or passion. And then the test recommends exercises for you to do to up your level of feel. So that's another way to connect. Take the feel test, then go out on Twitter. I'm at Dee Breakenridge and share your score.
All right, awesome. So you're on Twitter. Where else can we connect with you? Are you on Instagram or any other of these social media platforms?
Yeah, so actually LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn learning
Okay.
instructor, so I do video courses as well for LinkedIn. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook where I'm sharing, and I have a podcast called Women Worldwide.
Wow, you're doing a lot of great things. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was great chatting with you.
Likewise, likewise. Join us on the next IBS.